Good afternoon. It's Mrs. Murder here, and I know it's been a month, I'll bet. We're going to talk about the Caves of Steel. This is going to be the first book in a trilogy written by Isaac Asimov and published in 1956. So, okay, 54. This one was 54, and it's called Caves of Steel. It's a trilogy, a robotic trilogy. So there's going to be a robot in these. And what an amazing read this is. He's a detective, there's a murderer, the robot's a detective, and then he's paired with a human detective. So it's a pairing of, and has a lot of conversation and discussion between the robot and the human. And of course, the human reminds him that Bailey is his name, and he reminds him that the first rule of robotics is do not cause any harm to human beings. So when they went to a riot together at a shoe store, everyone was rioting, and they wouldn't listen to the police who were trying to stop the rioting and calm them down and get back in line. The robot drew his weapon, and he said, well, I would have shot anybody. I wouldn't hurt anybody. But the point was that he shouldn't even really draw his weapon, because that would be a threat of violence. So we have Bailey, and then we have Daniel. That's his last name, but Daniel, but I'll call him Daniel, is the robot. And what's interesting about this, and different about this, I'm not a practiced science fiction reader, but I thought I would try this trilogy, being challenged to do so. And what's interesting about it is when you read, it's all dialogue between the two of them, and everything is told in dialogue. And of course, there is some just plain action described and things like that, but a lot of dialogue. And when you get through reading it, you wonder, if I'm reading and it's in the dialogue of the protagonist, two protagonists, one a robot and one a human, are going through my mind, am I programming my mind to think like a robot when I'm thinking like the robot, and then programming my mind to think like the human when I'm thinking like the human? Of course, they're all written by a human being, but that psychological hangs on even after a month. Am I thinking like a robot here, or am I thinking like a human being? Bean. Anyway, the murder was, the review that I read said that it was pointing out a point that I picked up right away. When they went to check the murder victim, they didn't touch him, they didn't they didn't examine him. They just looked around, and it's very unlike the way that murders are solved today, where you have someone come in and check the temperature and establish time of death, etc. So that was pretty obvious. There were some differences there, but this is 1954, and originally Asimov, the author, was criticized because they said, well, this won't last very long, because as people get more skilled with solving crimes, they will outpace your novels. And guess what? They are still selling, they're still interesting, and there's still a lot in there that you can enjoy and that will keep you doing regular things that you do in solving a mystery, getting rid of the red herrings, investigating all the alternative choices, understanding the background, understanding all the characters that came into play. It is really interesting, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun to read it. And I didn't want to start on the next book, because I knew if I started it, then I would never get around to this review, because I've been procrastinating reviews for some reason. What's the name of the next one? Let's see. Caves of Steel is the first one. The second one is, well, you don't care really. Do you really care? the Caves of Steel. The third one is Robots of the Dawn. And the second one, I knew it would go out of my mind. For Caves of Steel, The Naked Sun. The Naked Sun is the second book. So this Naked Sun came out in 1957. Then Robots of the Dawn came out later in 1983. But Isaac Asimov has written some 400 plus books, and he's amazing. He's fascinating. The robots and the humans have not learned to live together in this first in his robotic series trilogy, and the humans don't trust and don't like robots, but Daniel has been made to look so close to human that people can't tell that he's a robot. They think he's really a human, and it's very interesting. It's fascinating. Read it, pick it up. It's Caves of Steel, Isaac Asimov, and you can get it on Kindle. Get the trilogy on Kindle, I think. I have it on my iPad. I don't have the books. I didn't pay for them because I've got the whole trilogy. So here we go. Here's number 1. And then next week we'll read the second, and then the next week the third. Stay tuned. I must say I'm not used to science fiction, but this is a mystery, and I am used to reading mysteries, and it is a very solvable, realistic, fascinating mystery. Bye for now. Thanks for joining me.